with the best defensive record in the Premier League this season against the team with the worst goal-scoring record. What could that add up to?
Good build-up. There have been a number of changes today, haven't there? Both managers are looking to do something special. For Wolves, it's huge. They're only 3 points above relegation. They're not out of it, though they could really do with a win today. Hence, I think you'll see a lot of the ball being played up 10 minutes. Adama really seeing what he can do from his start today as well. But whereas Newcastle, when you go down to, if you have a brilliant run and suddenly go on a negative run, that can cascade. They do not want that to happen, and this is a big day to make the change.
Well, some boos from the Gallowgate end because Wolves have turned Newcastle around, and Newcastle are going to attack towards the Gallowgate end to our right in the first half.
And if I was a skipper, I would do that every single time.
So I think I've said to you before, Pat, I'm amazed it doesn't happen more often. So Newcastle, much change today. Eddie Howe has rung the changes. He's been able to bring Fabian Schär back into central defence, and Willock is playing in midfield, coming back from a couple of matches out, or at least not in the starting lineup because of an injury that he had. Joe Linton suspended. But then the completely different front line, Jacob Murphy, who's been a substitute for weeks and weeks and weeks, back in the starting lineup. Isak plays through the middle instead of Wilson. St. Maximin on the left hand side. Anthony Gordon's got an ankle injury, Newcastle have said today, which has ruled him out, so not involved at all. Wilson and Almiron on the bench, and referee Andy Madley blows his whistle, and the match begins here. Newcastle United kicking off, black and white striped shirts, black shorts and black socks. We welcome listeners to join us here on 5 Live from the BBC World Service as well, so welcome to you. Grey skies above, although one or two tiny little patches of blue sky now peeping through, and Wolverhampton Wanderers in the old gold shirts with the black numbers, black shorts and gold and black striped socks. 4 changes for them. They've also changed their front line completely. Jimenez is the centre forward today. Adama Traore and Pedence in the wide positions as the ball is fired forward for Newcastle but bounces all the way through to José Sarr, and Moutinho coming into the midfield. So José Sarr in goal. A back four is Semedo, Dawson, Kilman and Johnny. Then in midfield it is a 4-3-3, Lamina, Neves and Moutinho, and then that front three I described of Adama Traore, Raúl Jiménez and Daniel Podence. So throwing to Wolves over on the far side, almost right on the halfway line, which is played back for Newcastle. Willock got a touch on that, knocks it back into his back line. So Newcastle have got their familiar defence back together for this one. Nick Pope, Trippier, Schär, Botman and Byrne. But they have leaked goals. They've conceded all goals in each of the last 6 matches. Schär carries the ball forward, lifts it down the right hand side. Trippier nods it in field. Now the ball is crossed by Murphy. Goalkeeper Sarr is able to come and make a catch, although he's actually fumbled it because he landed on his teammate Dawson, went to ground, lost the ball but gathered it at the second attempt.
Actually done really well there. It's one of those ones where he has dropped it but there's nothing he could do about it, but he's defending in front of him. What's intriguing is that some of the initial matchups you're going to see, João Moutinho against Bruno Guimaraes, that should be a really interesting matchup directly against each other.
Here's Murphy on the right hand side. Murphy into the full back position, then goes again, clips the ball in high towards the back post, but it's over the top of everyone in there actually. St. Maximin has to run it out into the full back position, and it's knocked out of play by Semedo for a throw into Newcastle. Byrne takes quickly to St. Maximin. Byrne's got it back, plays it back up the line. Willock is there, ball right over everyone and beyond the far post. Disappointing delivery from Willock. Goal kick, and it is 0-0. And let me just tell you, might just need to be prompted on this, but Scotland 7, Ireland 22 is the latest score at Murrayfield. So they did convert that try that we heard just before we crossed here for commentary. So Scotland 7, Ireland 22. Pat Nevin.
Do you want me to talk about that?
No.
I'd rather not.
No, we've covered a lot of ground already.
I'll move it quickly. Really good start for Jacob Murphy, actually getting his opportunity here. He's already had 2 decent crosses in right at the start of the game, and that's a really good thing if you're a wide player to get the chance to get those crosses in, but they weren't able to make anything out of them.
Yep, just his 8th start of the season in all competitions. Come on as a substitute in the last 10, as the ball is taken down the left hand side by Wolves, and it's given as a free kick by Andy Madley. Kieran Trippier protests about that. It was
Traore, wasn't it?
Traore, who, well, Trippier slid in there at pace. He probably did get the ball. We're just seeing it again, Pat.
Yeah, I think for the referee, his possession, I don't think he can say anything other than that. I think Traore did get a hit. There was nothing malicious in it, but I don't think there's any big argument there. There shouldn't be any big argument there. It was a free kick, and it's in a very dangerous position, but once again, Traore's limping.
Back on his feet though, scored the winner against Tottenham last weekend in the 1-0 victory, and he's okay, but it's a free kick out on the left hand side. So Podence is there. He's another one of the men who've come back into the team for Wolves today. Could be an outswinger from him. In fact, he moves away from it, and it's played in by Moutinho, but Pope comes, gets a punch on it. It's fired back across the penalty area by Neves, cleared away at the back post, but straight up in the air by Murphy. And now João Moutinho is onto this again. He's got Podence behind him, and then Podence turns, gives it back to João Moutinho, runs his right foot over the ball, plays it left footed towards the penalty area, but Trippier was able to step in and was able to then receive it back from Murphy and clear. Although Newcastle still haven't got it completely away, which they do now. Long ball forward to Saint-Maximin on the halfway line. He's got it down and he plays it through the middle for the run of Isak, but that was easily read by Dawson, who went to ground and scooped it away.
It would be normally a surprising thing for Saint-Maximin to do it, because you know what he's like. He gets the ball and he runs with it. He draws players, but he played it earlier there. Very, very unlike him, and I'm sure most Newcastle fans would like to see him do what he's very best at, which is get the ball and run at people.
Ball's played down the right by Moutinho for Traore running at Burn. Here's the cross, it's over Jimenez, and Trippier's behind him for Newcastle to head it away back out towards the far side. Still 0-0 in the still very early stages, and Newcastle winning a throw off Moutinho. But good start by Wolves.
Yeah, and you know that right hand side there, we're talking about matchups between players. Burn against Adama Traore, I mean, that will be intriguing in itself. I mean, just for the fact that the difference to the way he looks and the way they play, the pure pace that Traore's got. First time he got the ball, he came over to left, but that time took on Burn for pace and beat him rather easily.
So Newcastle clear it away towards the halfway line. Floodlights brightly on. It's flicked on, but Isak won't get there. Oh, he's actually managed to win it back from Kilman, dispossessed him, but then Kilman recovered well and put it out for a throw, which Newcastle take quickly to Isak, who's still in the full-back position, stabs it back. Here's Willock, left corner of the box. Willock, infield to Guimarães. Bruno Guimarães drops a shoulder, takes it on towards the edge of the box. First time we've seen him involved in the match so far today. Bruno Guimarães, the great favourite here, recently named as the player of 2022 in the northeast of England by the football writers, the northeast football writers. Guimarães playing back towards the halfway line. Now it's with Trippier on the right hand side. Nice touch by Murphy, and then here's the cross from Longstaff to the back post, which is headed up, and eventually it drops out of play. Longstaff just made sure, actually, by nudging into Lamina, but it is a corner to Newcastle.
It's a really good lively start to the game, isn't it? Sometimes some teams that are not having a good time, it's cagey, it's a little bit slow, they test each other out. It's not been like that. A real tight-minded attitude, usually down the wide areas, and I think Newcastle look particularly good down the right as opposed to the left. 6 minutes played, 5 live in the World Service. Newcastle United 0, Wolverhampton Wanderers 0. Watching from our lowish position in the east, in the Milburn stand here, looking across to the east stand as Newcastle take this corner, and Saint-Maximin is already dancing and weaving his way. Trippier's there to support behind him, gives it to Trippier. Trippier's now being challenged, the ball bounces away. Moutinho then plays it away, and he was caught, given by the assistant, and it is a free kick to Wolves. I think we can safely say that corner didn't work very well, did it? They took it short, messed about for about 10 seconds, then lost it completely, gave a free kick away. And of course the centre backs, and we have to put Dan Burn in there as well. Left back would be, I wouldn't say they were cursing them, but they'd be disappointed the ball didn't come in. So free kick that is going to be taken by José Sá, the tall, lilac-dressed Portuguese goalkeeper, right-footed away downfield, but that just drifts out of play, so it's a throw-in to Newcastle halfway inside their own half. Kieran Trippier to take this, sense a real determination about Newcastle to arrest this slide, if you want to call it that, although the 3 defeats were against some of the best opponents around.
as Guimarães plays it out to the left-hand side to Saint-Maximin, approaching the penalty area, slips it into the box. Murphy made a run right to left. Here's the cross, deflected up and closer to the goalkeeper, who was able to catch it in front of his eyes.
It's so noticeable how different Saint-Maximin is at the moment and to the player he first was when he came in. I mean, a lot of times he would run, take it around 3 players, and then there wouldn't be an end product. Then there was a period where he was so explosive, he was going past people. He's got the ball 3 times already in dangerous positions and just played a simple ball. And it's not what he's good at, it's not what he's best at, and you just wonder if he's playing himself into the game, or else there is an injury that is slowing him down that much.
In the matches currently going on in the Women's Super League, West Ham 1, Aston Villa 2 is now the latest score, and it is still Leicester 0, Everton 0. Newcastle coming forward on the left-hand side. Ball played back to Guimarães, edge of the D, turns, might have been fouled. He was by Moutinho. Clever from Guimarães, drew the foul from Moutinho, and Newcastle have a free kick in the D.
Oh, it's really clever because he dragged the ball behind his foot. It's sort of a Cruyff move that he did there, but because it's behind him, any tackle at all is going to take his feet away. And I think you were correct in describing it as clever. He knew exactly what he's doing. He's got a free kick 20 yards out. Well, it should have been 19, but they've moved it back a yard.
And the contact on him there, yeah, it wasn't enough for him to fall over. If I tapped you like that, Pat, you wouldn't fall over. But it was a foul.
It was a foul. It wasn't enough to fall over, but it wasn't enough to lie down for about 10 seconds as well after it. That was pushing it.
Free kick then, Newcastle, good position. Kieran Trippier scored just 1 goal so far this season. The free kick that he scored in that brilliant 3-3 draw against Manchester City here, which was one of the games of the season. And Trippier is lining this up. He's got Cher next to him as well, who can hit a free kick.
I'd be amazed.
It's not
I would
Trippier.
be amazed.
But Trippier's placed the ball. That's usually the indicator. And Wolves have got a very long wall, 6-7 of them.
It's also not the tallest.
No.
You know, there's 2 or 3 players in there. They aren't the tallest team at the moment.
Six in the wall, including 1 line down behind, and also someone else just joining the edge of it. So he backs away, Trippier. He's making it look like it is him. There's a little nervous twitch from him. Then up he comes with the free kick, drives it low, hits the wall, and is deflected away back to Murphy. Takes it down. That's a poor ball in. But sliced by Adama Traore on the edge of the box, and it ended up dropping into the gloves of his goalkeeper. That was on target, but it was caught easily.
Yeah, it wasn't, as you say, it wasn't the best ball in. He didn't actually need to take that as quickly. The ball was still slightly bouncing and he took the cross. There's absolutely no need to do that then. He could have taken another step and got a better quality ball in before Adama nearly finished it.
Newcastle 0, Wolves 0 in what is the 4th Premier League game of the day. Here is Podence moving infield from the left to right, and then just flicks it. Neves with his dark hair tied up behind his head out to the right hand side. Adama Traore is there. Here's Semedo on the overlap. Semedo is challenged and the ball bounces behind. Dan Byrne putting in the challenge, and referee Madley just outside the area says it came off the Wolves man Semedo and behind, and it's a goal kick.
Well, I thought like you it might be, but no one complained a huge amount, so the referee probably got that one right. When you're talking about the corner kick that Wolves didn't put in there, if you look at the team, you know, Podence is not the tallest, that's been kind, neither is João Moutinho, neither is Adama. You just wonder why Newcastle didn't put the ball in. That's a great advantage they've got in the air.
Goal kick taken by Newcastle. Kilman went for it. Longstaff's pass is overhit. The crowd, the Gallagher end, are claiming that Murphy was clipped. He went down on his knees, but the pass from Longstaff was well beyond him. So referee Madley just says play on Wolves, which they do. It's over out to the far side, and then Willock puts in the challenge on Traore, and it's out of play for a throw-in to the visitors. Wolverhampton Wanderers in their 5th season back in the Premier League. There's Julian Lopetegui, who was appointed just before the World Cup, walking out now, standing with their feet quite wide apart actually. He's got a fleece on today. Obviously decided that not a day for his famous polo necks on Tyneside, and it is a good deal milder than it has been. Kilman inside his penalty area just takes the ball away from Murphy and gives it to Johnny, who's mishit it, sliced it, miskicked it straight out of play, and it was into the arms of Eddie Howe, who threw it back to Trippier, who's going to take this throw in just down to our right. Just waits with it and still waiting. and then actually moving backwards unusually to take the throw. And Longstaff back to Botman in the centre circle. Botman turns it back onto his left foot, then his right, then taps it forward with his left. Longstaff is there, number 36 on the back of his shirt. Out to Saint-Maximin with his socks, the white tops pulled up over his knees and the wristbands on, and then he's looking for the overlap of Byrne, and then it comes back to Saint-Maximin. Square from him, Bruno Guimaraes is there. Bruno Guimaraes, lovely ball, slipped forward to Byrne. Byrne pulls it back into the defender Semedo, and it ricochets off him into the hoardings in front of the Gallowgate end for a corner to the home side. 0-0.
Good description of Saint-Maximin with the white socks. I'm not convinced they're socks. Well, that might be bandages. Or,
yes. He likes a bandage.
Yes, or help on his knees to keep them steady.
Corner from the left for Newcastle. Trippier waiting to take this. So let's see if, well, it looks as though they will deliver this one into the box. Here it comes, and it's headed up and away by Dawson for Wolves, unchallenged. Nodded back into the box by Saint-Maximin. A glancing header on from Isak, but straight through to Sarr. Headed it straight down into the ground, and it bounced through to the goalkeeper. So Alexander Isak back in the team today. So Callum Wilson, who I must say, Pat, has looked out of sorts. You know, he's a real goal sniffer, isn't he? But Eddie Howe's decided today's the day to make the change. Wolves still with it inside their own half.
Well, if you've been like that, you know, Almiron had that brilliant period, then he was so far out of sorts he looked like a different player. I have to say it's the same must be said about Saint-Maximin as well. If you can get those players playing to their absolute best, then you will be up there challenging for the top four. But if they're not available or not at their best, then that's possibly part of the reason, the biggest part of the reason why they started slipping down.
Well, Saint-Maximin scored when these sides met at Molineux earlier in the season, back in August. That's the only goal he scored this season, Saint-Maximin. And even Isak, the record signing, he's not got one in his last 7 Newcastle appearances, having missed a good chunk of the season with injuries as well. But I sense he's still finding his feet, and he's a very different sort of centre forward, Isak, in that, as we've already seen in this match, you'll see him in the full back positions and dropping deeper, as Newcastle have it with Cher. And then square from him to Botman, still Newcastle in the centre circle. Poor touch by Guimaraes, you don't often say that, and Wolves are all over him, and Neves won it back. And now Semedo taking it forward. Neves is still over on the right hand side, and then he passes it forward to Adama Traore. Byrne and Longstaff going over there as well, gets the cross in, but it's cleared away by Newcastle through Cher. Helped back and forward from centre field by Lamina, but I think, yes it does, bounces all the way through. Dan Byrne makes sure, just holds off the challenge of Semedo, and it is a goal kick. Just over 15 minutes played, and it's still 0-0.
Yes, and it's kind of settled in more of a pattern now. First 10 minutes or so, it was really lively. Teams were getting areas into particularly wide areas, getting good crosses in. Trippier was getting up the right hand side, he was overlapping, there was good understanding with him and Murphy. You were getting some more from Adama Traore on the right hand side. The last 6 or 7 minutes, that's calmed down a little bit, and everybody knows who they're playing against, and it's become a little bit more safe.
It is still Scotland 7, Ireland 22 at Murrayfield. There can't be too long left. You'll hear it on Sports Extra now. Podence playing it forward down the left, but Jimenez can't keep the ball in, and he's actually just knocked it away there. So Newcastle couldn't take a quick throw. And
the old days that used to get you a yellow card, it doesn't.
Well, Andy Madley, all he's done is walked across there and wagged his finger at Jimenez. So a throw into Newcastle in front of the Leazes end. All of the Wolves fans, I can see them up there, many of them on their feet singing their songs with their arms raised as Newcastle take the throw forward towards Isak inside his own half, but as he helped it forward, Lamina actually gave an awkward one to Semedo, who had Saint-Maximin behind him, and Saint-Maximin now follows him all the way as he gives it to Dawson. It's come to the left hand side to Johnny, the left back. Lamina passes it forward, there's nobody there for Wolves, so therefore Longstaff can just move across and wait and see it out for a throw in to Newcastle. Odd period of play there from Wolves.
Yeah, usually they're quite slick playing out from the back. They weren't that time at all. By the way, you mentioned Isak there, he's almost had a lovely turn. I think he's a really nice player who will develop into a very special player, but he'll need a whole season under his belt here.
Wolves coming forward, Podence to his right to Neves, who takes it on, but Neves' has ball forward, just tried to scoop it into the penalty area, whether it took a deflection or not, but that meant that it bounced for Nick Pope who is able to take possession back for Newcastle. So it is still Newcastle 0, Wolves 0. So what is the latest at Murrayfield, Sarah Orchard?
It's Scotland 7, Ireland 22, and Ireland have just absolutely butchered an opportunity to go over for another try. We're on 76 minutes. This is going to be an Irish win. They're going to be going for the Grand Slam in Dublin, but that could have been another try. 76 minutes, Scotland 7, Ireland 22.
And as I say, you can hear Sarah with Johnny Beattie and Shane Horgan with the commentary for the final moments. They'll wrap things up as well, but it is set up for next weekend, the final round of matches. And as has been the case throughout the tournament, all of the matches on 5 Live or Sports Extra. Here's Neves taking the ball down 25 yards out in front of the Newcastle goal. And then it goes all the way back to the halfway line where Kilman and Lamina are exchanging passes, and Wolves are going backwards rapidly here. In fact, they're pressed all the way back towards the edge of their own box and all the way back to goalkeeper Sarr, and he's having to play it out here to Kilman, and that's raised the Newcastle fans. And now Johnny, a poor touch. Trippier won it back, square from Willock. Here's St Maximin, 25 yards out. Byrne arriving on the left hand side, plays it into the area, tries to barge his way through. Might have caught Neves in the middle of all that as well, as he did so after a poor touch from Byrne. Neves is still down, and Newcastle have passed it back, and actually the Wolves. Oh, Nick Pope is almost caught in possession by Jimenez inside the penalty area. The ball bounces away and behind. Podence is going to the referee, so is Moutinho. Jimenez is on his knees in the box looking back at the referee, who's taking a bit of time here to think about this. Clearly VAR will have a look to see if this could be a penalty.
Well, there's a real possibility. We're a distance away from here. Keeper makes a real mess of it. Pope there, and he flicks him the ball inside when he actually gets it. It's whether he was taken out. I think they might get away with this. I have a feeling they might get away with this.
Do you think so?
Well, that's why I said think.
Yeah.
Probably a heavy emphasis on think, but I think he's saying the ball's been kicked away and it's not
he said no.
Clear and obvious.
No, he said no. Referees pointed to his headset and said no. Meanwhile, there's still a bit of a do going on here on the side of the pitch after, I think, the challenge on Neves by Byrne. Just seeing it again, Pat, the Jimenez Wolves penalty shout.
I think what the referee suggesting, he thought that Jimenez runs into the goalkeeper's space. Okay. It's one of those ones. If it's your team, you think it's an absolute stonewaller. It's the opposition, you're saying no, it's a coming together. Let's be fair, plenty of referees will give that.
Comes back though, I'm afraid. Nick Pope, who was sent off in the last match here against Liverpool, remember, he misjudged the header and ended up handballing it outside the box, and the cost of that was missing the cup final. That was a poor touch by the Newcastle goalkeeper, who was outside near the corner of the box, and the touch presented it to Jimenez, and Pope coming back looking to challenge him. Maybe Jimenez made too much of that.
I'm just wondering, we're so down.
Neves is still down receiving treatment.
Yes, and there's no faking it there. Byrne comes in for a 50-50, wins it clean as a whistle, but of course his body's fallen through because he's gone at full tilt there. I think he's turned around and had a bit of a go at Neves. I think that's a bit harsh. Neves was clearly injured by it.
Well, he is on his feet. He's received treatment. I think at the other end, the penalty shout, you could that could have been given.
That's what I'm saying.
Have been given.
Some do.
Yeah,
absolutely. Some do.
If that's at Molineux, might be a different matter. With the crowd noise and the reaction that there would be to something like that.
Or more pertinently, not at St James's. It's a kind of hard place. Look, it's not a complete and utter stonewaller, but if you'd have given it, you wouldn't have argued too hard against it either.
Right, play back underway, and after that flurry of activity, it is still Newcastle United 0, Wolves 0. Neves is waved back onto the field. Yes, there he is, running quite easily in centre field. As Newcastle play the ball back to Pope, who takes a touch with his left foot and then very carefully uses his right to pass it out to Botman. And now Byrne is being put under pressure by Traore. Wolves have got it back. Lamina back to the halfway line, and then forward from Dawson. The Wolves supporters, I can hear them up in those seats at the top of the Leazes end. They've been fired up. They'll have had a view down on that, what they thought, I'm sure many of them, should have been a penalty to Wolves. Newcastle bringing it out from the back again, passing it back to Pope. Touch with his left foot, with his right foot, then clears it with his left. St Maximin beaten in the air by Dawson. Then Burns slices the ball back to the edge of his own box, and Botman, knowing that Traore was just behind him, had to sweep it out for a throw to Wolves down the right. They've been fired up, Wolves.
Yeah, the number of mishits and slices that we've seen in this game has been incredible so far. But the most concerning one would be, if you're a Newcastle fan, obviously Pope. When it comes to him now, you can see he's jittery. He is very, very jittery. That's balls at his feet. He wants it away as quick as possible.
Now, Moutinho, heavy touch from him, but he has been able to find Semedo on the right hand side, who's beaten Byrne, and then Semedo on that flank. Semedo, all right foot, then back onto his left, thought about the cross, uses his right though to give it back to Lamina with a crossfield pass from him, taken down by Kilman. And then Kilman exchanges passes with Neves. Wolves with Johnny on the left hand side, then back to Kilman, who moves inside, right footed pass. Trippier was able to step forward. Newcastle should do clear with Shell, although that was closed down by Neves. Moutinho to Neves, the old Wolves combination, and then Neves through to Moutinho again. Moutinho tried to stab it into the box right footed, but Gimranch was able to block it away.
He always gets head up, Jean Moutinho, when it comes in there. He's not got a lot of the ball so far, but he is the one playing that Wolves team. You think, give him the ball, a little bit of space, and he can play the through ball. At this moment in time, that was close. It was the right ball to play, just didn't get enough air on the flick pass.
Newcastle United 0, Wolves 0. Newcastle coming forward now on the left hand side with Willock, who rolls a pass across the box, but Lamina stepped forward, intercepted that, passed it away, only back to Newcastle though, who have it on the left hand side with St Maximin. St Maximin, right footed ball into the near post, but at thigh height Craig Dawson was able to readjust and clear that away. The central defender who started this season at West Ham, and now Cher brings it forward, but Jimenez tackling back has conceded a free kick. Newcastle with a free kick on the right wing.
I suspect they shouldn't take this one short. They're trying to get it into the box unless they've got something clever planned down the right hand side. You know, Trippier's got such quality most of the time. He says hesitantly, knowing that the minute you say that you're going to put it into the first man. But you know, the times that Newcastle have been able to get the centre backs going and attacking the ball when the ball's played in from this right hand side from Trippier, you should put it between that centre back and the goalkeeper. Ask the question.
25 minutes played here at St James's Park. Sky's clearing above, much more blue sky now, but we can see the players' shadows from the floodlights. And Kieran Trippier stepping up to strike this free kick in, which is headed down and in. Isak got there, and the club record signing. A lovely little touch, a glance off his forehead, low beyond Sarr's dive to his right, and it is Newcastle 1, Wolves 0.
Well, they have got such an advantage with height. Mentioned that earlier on, didn't understand why they weren't putting the corners in first time. Well, they did do it this time from the free kick, and we know, as we said, about the quality of Trippier, exactly the right area. However, Wolves will be furious at the fact that the marking was absolutely awful. Ball's played in. We're just double checking to make sure there's no offside there, because you always have to double check. There was one player in an offside position when it was played in, but I'm not convinced it was that man Isak.
No, I don't think it was Isak. Did well, actually. I mean, that's a good distance out. That's probably 12 yards, maybe a little bit more, but he's got up, twisted his neck, got the touch on it, and the direction was excellent.
Can we push it and say it was Shearer-esque? Is that pushing it a bit?
Not unlike the great man. But the 27th minute, Newcastle took the lead, and Alan Shearer and all Geordies will have cheered that, and that settled things down. So Newcastle leading Wolves by 1-0. And let's go back to Murrayfield again and Sarah Orchard.
It's all over. It's an Ireland win. Scotland 7, Ireland 22, and that means the Grand Slam is on. Destiny is in Irish hands. They will head back to Dublin to face England next weekend on the St Patrick's Day weekend. Full-time Scotland 7, Ireland 22.
Yes, you will hear that on 5 Live next weekend. Here's Isak for Newcastle, just 1-0 up, now into the box. Still plays it across, takes a double deflection, still in the area. Mike Dodge turned wide on the edge of the box. Willock was in there, Longstaff was in there as well, and in the end it was Willock, left-footed, tried to roll it across goal into the far bottom corner, but rolled it wide via a deflection for a corner.
He's so dangerous, Isaac. I mean, he's got great pace, but his technical ability is fantastic as well. And I think contractually we have to say it was pinball, and they're in the 6-yard line, couldn't get out of their feet. Eventually it was on target, but it skimmed off the defender past Newcastle. They're right on top now. Confidence has just lifted so much to that goal.
That goal, Newcastle's first in 4 matches, has changed the mood here and changed the play, lifted the confidence. And now the corner, the latest Newcastle corner, in it goes, and Wolves needed Dawson to get up there. They might not be tall, but they've got Craig Dawson, who's so powerful, so strong a defender from set pieces. But Newcastle come again, attacking towards the Gallagate end. And now Scher's taking it a long way. He's still going, and then he stood on the ball. And Wolves were able to clear just at the moment where it was all about to open up for Fabian Scher in the opposition penalty area.
Well, open up is a perfect description. He didn't do anything tricky, just let the player seem to move out of his way, and a gap opened up, and you're right, had he not tripped over the ball himself, he could have been through in the goalkeeper. But yeah, tails are up now for Newcastle, and they would love to take advantage of that. Well, they're up just now. If they could get a second and put it beyond Wolves' capabilities, because they don't score a lot of goals.
No, that's the issue. Just 19 in the Premier League this season. The lowest scorers this season. Podence back to Jimenez, goes for a curler, but Pope is able to go down to his left and just took the pace off it. Actually, it bounced away from him, but he was able to get up, gather it, and then overarm it out. And then St Maximin receives it from him, and St Maximin plays it forward to Isak, who's on the left hand side. He's up against Dawson, comes across, hits the shot, but Kilman, the other central defender, actually threw himself in front of it. And Isak looks like a man transformed by that. His first goal for Newcastle in 8 appearances.
He is so elegant when he's going. He's always running in behind. Defenders hate that. So every time Newcastle get the ball, if there's any space behind, they just need to clip it over the top. I mentioned the fact that St Maximin, he hasn't been a player yet. Every time he gets the ball, he passes it. But his last 2 passes have been exceptional, because they've just put it into an area that Isak's been able to chase.
So Newcastle United, St James's Park in fine voice. And the ball's played down the left hand side as Newcastle come again. It's Willock this time into the full back position. Lots of black and white shirts in the box, then on the edge of the area, knocked into the area to Murphy. Now Willock with a cross, but there's no one there at the back post in black and white, so Johnny can turn and clear it, but he's mishit it, and then Murphy hits the shot. That's blocked in the area. Trippier then clips it across to the back post, headed away by Semedo, only out to St Maximin in the box on the left, turns away from Neves, beats Neves again, right foot to the near post, headed away by Dawson for Wolves. And Newcastle take it up again, and suddenly Newcastle are Champions League contenders again.
Yeah, they've got it back. They've got the mojo back. Can they keep it going though? As I say, that next goal would make a difference. Good to see St Maximin back to his old tricks there for once. Puts a good cross in.
Good work by Murphy on the right hand side, and then it's played back by Longstaff, and then Guimarães takes it on. Well, he went down, he's spiralling down. Moutinho put in the challenge on him. Remember the earlier challenge by Moutinho on Guimarães. Well, he's won a free kick again. Free kick on the right hand side, probably only 10 yards away from where Newcastle had the free kick that led to the opening goal. Full times in the Women's Super League. It finished West Ham 1, Aston Villa 2, and it finished Leicester 0, Everton 0. One more match today. That's the 6:45 kickoff between Arsenal and Reading, and you'll be able to hear commentary on that match on Sports Extra. Free kick to Newcastle on the right, Pat.
Yeah, and not dissimilar, maybe a little bit further out, 10 yards closer, and it's a little bit wider, so it's a harder position to put the ball in. But in the fact that it's Trippier, in the fact that he's got that quality, and of course he's already made one from this sort of area, he will put it into that danger area again.
Yes, he will. Trippier is suggesting that the one-man wall, Podence, is not 10 yards away from the ball. Complains to the assistant, then steps back. Trippier with a delivery, well hit that. It's juggled around and back, deflects goalwards. The 2 players together at the back post, and Scher was one of them, and it bounced at the goalkeeper, Sarr, who was, I think, a little relieved that it did just bounce straight at him and he was able to catch it in front of his chest.
Yeah, but you almost take it for granted. The whip the pace and the precision of the ball in for Trippier. It was absolutely magnificent there.
Yeah. Here is St. Maximin to Isak. Isak, left side of the area, congested with all gold, and he's passed it straight to one of them, Neves, who's able to turn and clear it to the halfway line, where Adama Traore looked like he was shoved in the back by Dan Burn. Wolves keep it in on the far side, but Newcastle take possession up again, and Wolves really struggling to cope with St. Maximin and the movement of Isak.
I think you're absolutely right. That has been the best link-up so far.
Not to forget Willock, who's on the ball now, shooting, but shoots straight into Dawson. Then a shot on the edge of the box from Isak. That hit a defender as well, bounced well wide of goal and behind, and it's another corner to Newcastle.
It's nightmarish at the moment for Wales. Now, isn't Lopetegui down there? I think he's trying to get his team maybe to go to back three, shouting over them, saying to them, you need to get back, you need to close it down. Because if you don't actually close this down quite quickly, particularly on that left side now for Newcastle, because that's now where they're attacking most of the time, you're in real danger of losing this game before half-time.
Yeah, second goal now, and it'd be very, very difficult to see Wolves come back from this. Newcastle, who've been beaten by only one team here in their last 17 home matches, so that stretches back almost a year when Liverpool were here in the last home game. Corner, Trippier into the near post, that's headed away. Jimenez was back there, comes out, St. Maximin with the shot, that's deflected up and wide of the top left corner, over the hoardings, bounces and bobbles around over there. It's another corner, fifth corner for Newcastle in the first half.
It's one-way traffic, isn't it? Absolutely. Now they've played the same corner kick in a few times now. You wonder if they should drag someone at the near post and put one at the back post at some point.
Trippier again then, it is a back post corner, and Burn stretches, and it's against the crossbar from Guimarães, bounces out, still in the 6-yard box, and then volleyed away as it fell in front of Neves to put it out for a throw.
I love it when they listen to me. It's exactly what they had to do there.
Oh, hang on, I think Newcastle are suggesting there might have been maybe a foul in there, or a handball. Guimarães with the header against the bar, and is it a handball?
I think he's going to have a look at that. I've just watched it, I've seen a replay, didn't see it the first time. The ball comes back out just off the crossbar, and then there's a handball, just argument for a handball. Oh, camera didn't catch it, obviously not clear enough.
Right, not clear enough. Right, okay. So it's so both sides have had a shout for a penalty now. That's quickly dismissed. VAR. Referee madly saying play on. Throw in for Newcastle, who have got their tails up here. In comes the cross from the right, headed away by Kilman. Back out to from where it came. And Trippier just shields it from Podence. And maybe just gave him a little shove there as well, which sent him bouncing into the hoardings. But he shrugged that off, and he glares at Trippier, Podence, as the Newcastle man takes the throw. Wolves have got it away to the halfway line, but Newcastle suddenly dominating since they scored the goal. And Willock, good play from him, turns away from Lemina. St. Maximin again, a real danger in this game. St. Maximin once again in the box, twisting, still going. He's round Semedo, he's taken the long way round, and then he plays it off the shins of the Portuguese right back for another corner to Newcastle.
Yeah, every single player's looking confident. It looks as if there's 3 more Newcastle players on the field than Wolves players just now. Everybody wants the ball, everyone wants on it. They cannot get out. They try to get the ball out to Jimenez now and again. He can't hold it up at the moment. And the pace of Traore, they'd love to use that, but they aren't getting him close enough to the halfway line to use that pace at the moment. Total domination from Newcastle.
Newcastle United 1, Wolverhampton Wanderers 0. Trippier with his latest corner, and I think he might have overhit that. He has. It was being chased by Botman, but he couldn't get there, and it's all the way through for a goal kick. But that was a scintillating period of play. Well, 10 minutes really. They scored in the 27th minute, and then we're now in the 37th, and we're just seeing that again. Now we've got some more pictures of what Newcastle felt was a handball, as after Guimarães headed it against the crossbar and it bounced out. There were 2 players chasing it, and the Wolves man who came in was given a nudge. It was Lemina, and he was given a nudge, wasn't he, Pat?
And I actually don't think it was his hand.
Right, well,
I think it was the Newcastle hand.
So that explains why that was quickly dismissed by VAR, as Podence is down the other end, but Newcastle are there doubling up. Trippier and Schär together were able to snuff out the danger although Kilman plays it forward and he was caught by Longstaff, and that is a free kick to Wolves. Julian Lopetegui down there, I mean, he's in our eye line, so we see him naturally there, Pat, but in his Wolves tracksuit today, he's clearly not best pleased by what he's seen in the last 10 minutes when his team's been outplayed.
Well, and he knows that, you know, the points are drifting away now, and they could drift away if they lose another goal. He spent very little time inside his technical area, but then again, it is about the smallest technical area you'll ever see.
I don't think it's quite as small as Goodison Park, which I think is the smallest. Neves plays it out to the left hand side, controlled by Podence. He's running at Trippier, edge of the area onto his right foot, shoots low, he's hit the post, the outside of the post, the foot of it, and it bounces away crazily, wickedly back away from the goal across the penalty area, and in the immediate after that there was a foul, and Newcastle, Longstaff was fouled, and it's a free kick to Newcastle.
Do you know, I don't think Pope was getting there. I mean, it's down low to Pope's right hand side at his near post there, and he was down towards it, but had it been on target, you know, not off the post or on the inside of the post, I don't think Pope was getting there. So you know, understand why Lopetegui wants his team to do something different. Well, they lifted it a little bit there, but they need much more of that. They've just not got enough from Traore going forward, and to some degree the Podence as well. They've just not gotten the ball because they're losing the midfield.
Yep, Podence, who actually is Wolves' joint top scorer this season with Neves, the 5 goals they've scored each in all competitions, and Podence coming back into the starting lineup today after 6 matches on the substitutes bench. Wolves with Semedo coming forward, and Semedo's ball across the box is cleared away by Cher, and Newcastle might find themselves on the counter-attack here. One good pass, Willock does find Isak now running at Lemina, beats him, gives it square, Willock with a stretch, bounces away, a couple of deflections. Actually, Willock arriving at pace. I know what you're going to say, Pat.
It's either him or Gimenez, but not both here at the same time, and they got in each other's way. But once again, Isak, he is flying.
Murphy drifts away from Johnny, and now Willock across the box to the left. Saint-Maximin with a shot from the angle, but into the back of Semedo. The ball bounces, spins wickedly. That was like a turned square, but Saint-Maximin,
Shane Warmburg,
was able to get it under control. And then Guimarães, and then Murphy with a shot, but Sa was able to watch it all the way into his arms as he moved to his left.
I think Eddie Howe will be a wee bit disappointed with that. He didn't actually have enough purchase on the ball because it was too close to him there. They were in a great attacking position. He had players wide. Yeah, it was almost a pass back to the goalkeeper when they were in a fantastic position, but they are getting into good positions far too easily for Wolverhampton's liking, because at the moment, as I say, every player's looking good, but no one better than Isak. He's stunning at the moment.
Ball being carried forward for Wolves, bit of relief for them. Traore just overhits the pass, actually. Asking a lot from Semedo, and Dan Burns able to play it out of play for a throw into Wolves down the right. Half time approaching, less than 5 minutes, in fact 4 minutes plus added time. So at half time on 5 Live, more on Ireland's good win, it sounded like, from Sarah Orchard, 22-7 at Murrayfield against Scotland. Podence coming in field. If you missed the scores in the Premiership, by the way, I still need to bring you the Bristol Harlequins score, but it finished Gloucester 5, Leicester 26 and London Irish 36, Sale 18. Bristol Harlequins score to come, but here with the ball on the right hand side, it is Wolves. Adama Traore takes on the defender. Dan Burns able to make sure he blocks that out of play. And Bristol 51, Harlequins 26 was the final score. As it's out, it was indeed. So it's a corner to Wolves, their first, Pat.
Yeah, and to be honest, they have managed to withstand the real problems they had for that 10-12 minutes, whatever it was, and they've had the odd half chance now, so they're definitely not out of this game, and they'd love a goal before half time.
Corner then for Wolves, and it's swung to the near post. Jimenez threw himself at the ball, got a glance on it, but right across the box, in between all of that black and white and old gold, and Newcastle are back in possession, and Willock is able to almost walk the ball forward towards the halfway line. So Wolves getting back into position. Here's Isak, the goal scorer. Isak turns, but Moutinho puts in a good challenge on him, but then Willock is there to help out again, and Moutinho thought as well, and Podence slips it forward, Newcastle keep it in play. Here's St Maximin and Isak together on the left-hand side in front of the east stand. St Maximin still going to the box, step over, then cuts back, gives it to Isak, wants it on his right foot. He's got it there now, square to Longstaff, who tried to lift it into the penalty area but got that all wrong and just passed it straight to Dawson, who was able to clear. Shulan Lopetegui suddenly comes to life down in front of us as Newcastle continue to come forward again. Murphy just gets there first. He was caught by Podence. Free kick. Podence lying on his back. He knows what's coming. Yellow card. Mistimed it. Stands with his hand, lies on his back with his hands on his face, but it's a free kick to Newcastle in a really good position towards the right corner of the box.
We can look for sympathy oil, like he's not getting anything out of that. It's a free kick, and once again, and it's the third, maybe the fourth free kick they've got from roughly this area. And again, Trippier keeps on putting it in. This one's close enough where he can zip it towards that back post for his teammates to go and attack. But there might be a temptation to go for that near post. Just might be a temptation to go for a shot from here and that makes it difficult for the goalkeeper. He now can't really come out and try and collect it. He has to guard that near post because we know Trippier, even though it's quite a wide angle and it's a decent length out, he can maybe try that.
And clearly Jose Sarr, the goalkeeper, has got similar thoughts because he's currently on his haunches with his back up against that post that Pat's talking about, that side of the goal. So it's a free kick right of centre. It'll be with the angle something like 22, 23 yards out, and he's lined up his wall very, very carefully. The two-man wall. Adama Traore is standing as we look to the right of that. Trippier, though, is going to play it into the back post. It's headed away. Jimenez was back in there, and then there's a Cruyff turn by Cher, although not 100% Cruyff, because he actually played the ball away from himself and into the path of the Wolves defender, who blasted it skywards out of play on the halfway line, where the ball boy over there got off his little grey plastic stool, watched it through the air and brought it down on the proverbial sixpence.
Absolutely brilliant. And you do know how many footballers, were ball boys in their time, and nowadays ball girls as well, that you might look in the future and say, whoa, that was him.
Yeah, footage of that appears. It was almost as if once he brought it down, he got the big cheer from the crowd, and it was almost as if he got and blew his fingernails, across his mouth. Yeah. 2 minutes of added time at the end of the first half, and at half time we're back to Murrayfield for more from our team there after another famous win by Ireland that sets everything up for next weekend. And we'll also, at least last I heard, the plan was to go to Ian Carter at the Players' Championship, and indeed Russell Fuller at Indian Wells. If you've just switched on, if you haven't been listening this afternoon, our earlier commentary match, the leaders Arsenal re-established their 5-point lead at the top with a 3-0 win at Fulham, so more on that. It finished Manchester United 0, Southampton 0, West Ham 1, Aston Villa 1, and Rangers are through to the semi-finals of the Scottish Cup after their 3-0 win against Wraith Rovers. And Sunderland as well, Whispered, won at Norwich, which was important for them by 1-0. Newcastle coming forward, not being able to add to that goal that they scored just before the half hour, but they've dominated the match since then after an more or less even first half hour. Wolves thought they might have had a penalty, quite a big moment actually when you think about it, but it's quickly dismissed. Bulls bounced off Longstaff, Wolves bringing it forward. Jimenez now to Podence through the middle. Podence, who had a shot that hit a post, square from him to Neves now to Adama Traore, right side of the box, lets the ball run and then knocks it back to Neves. Touch from him, Neves' cross, stretching a header away by Cher just outside his 6-yard box. Podence has it again. Johnny makes the run towards the dead ball line. Podence is available in added time at the end of the first half. We're in the second minute now, only seconds to go. João Moutinho lifts one in, right footed to the penalty spot, headed out. Neves now trying to bring it down. Guimarães is there, Longstaff as well. The Wolves fans felt that he was sandwiched, but the referee says no, that's it, that's the half-time whistle, with Neves lying still on the ground, feeling his ribs, I think, after that double collision from either side of him. But that's it. Newcastle leading by 1-0 at half-time. Pat Nevin.
And they're definitely worthy of it. When they got the goal, and the right man scored the goal as well, the best player on the field, Isak, it was a header, but every time he's got on the ball, he looks languid, but he's complete and utter control of himself and the ball, but he's also got the pace and the willingness to run long. he is a joy of an elegant player to watch, but he's getting good help beside him, quite taken by San Maximum as well. Doesn't beat players anywhere near the way he used to, but he's actually going and playing balls and passing into areas that are dangerous from that man Isak as well. However, there is a nervousness in the air. Every time Wolves attack, these Newcastle fans know that they're such a confident team. If they lost a goal, it could all look a bit messy again.
Yeah, if Newcastle had got a second goal, you would think, well, really, this surely will be a home win. But at 1-0, and Neves, by the way, is still receiving treatment on the field, and they've been very careful with him. And this is the second time in the match that he has had to receive treatment.
I've not seen a replay of it, John, but I think it seemed to be the ball caught between him and another player on their chest, so he may have been winded. It may have affected one of his ribs. You can get a cracked rib with that sort of challenge, but I think it might have been not a player, but a player and the ball hitting him at the same time. So he's certainly, he's breathing okay, but they're definitely taking their time with him. We're just about to have a little look at it again just now. He plays it up in his chest, and he plays it up in his chest about 3 times. Yeah, he's got a shoulder into his chest, so that's possibly ribs.
Yeah, so we'll keep an eye on that during the course of the half-time break. But this is 5 Live from the BBC, half-time. Newcastle United leading Wolves by 1-0. Pat Nevin with me here at St James's Park. We're going to hear from Mikel Arteta after Arsenal's latest win this afternoon during this half-time break. We'll hear from Eric Ten Hag as well, the Manchester United manager, after their 0-0 draw with Southampton at Old Trafford. We're also going to head to Murrayfield, to Florida and to California before the second half begins. But first of all, the BBC News with Carl Hartley.
Listen on BBC Sounds. This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Talks are continuing between BBC bosses and Gary Lineker after he criticised the government's language about migrants. His son George has tweeted that he's proud of his old man and thanked the public for the overwhelming support. A Snap poll by YouGov shows that 53% of the public think the BBC got it wrong to suspend the Match of the Day host, against 27% who say it was the right decision. These fans outside Old Trafford for the Manchester United and Southampton game gave us their opinion.
Fair play to Gary Lineker, he's absolutely right, and any presenter that went with him is absolutely right.
They need to sit themselves down and get together. I can understand where Lineker's coming from, but there's a time and place to air that, isn't there? And I don't think politics and sport should actually mix.
The BBC are out of order with what they've done. He's a sports commentator. If he's got views on Twitter, they're his views.
The Chancellor, Jeremy Hunt, has said that the government can make a big difference on childcare costs in the budget on Wednesday. Measures designed to get more people into work will include paying the childcare costs of people on universal credit in advance, rather than making them claim the money back later. The SNP leadership contender Humza Yousaf says he'll consider a snap Holyrood election to secure Scottish independence. The Scottish Health Secretary is in the leadership race against Kate Forbes, the Finance Secretary, and ex-Community Safety Minister Ash Regan. He told BBC Scotland's The Sunday Show he wanted to build solid support for the cause rather than focus on process. And organisers at the Oscars are preparing to roll out the carpet for the ceremony in a few hours. But for the first time since 1961, it will be champagne-coloured instead of red. Brian Tyree Henry has been nominated for Best Supporting Actor for his role in the film Causeway. He found out he'd been nominated while getting in a lift with a stranger.
I pushed the button and saw that my phone had 130 text messages, and I screamed. I must have terrified the hell out of this man. And he's like, "What's wrong? What happened?" I was like, "I was nominated for an Oscar." And he's like, "For what movie?" I was like, "Who cares?"
Everything, Everywhere, All at Once and the Banshees of Inisharan are among the big contenders.
On BBC iPlayer.
From the wilds of County Kerry to the Caledonian pine forest. From the Yorkshire moors to the reed beds of Suffolk. From an ant's nest in Gloucestershire to beneath the waves in Shetland. Our magical wildlife revealed close to home.
Wild Isles with David Attenborough starts tonight on BBC iPlayer.
This is 5 Live Sport.
And this is John Murray at St James's Park, where Newcastle lead Wolves by 1-0 at half-time. Commentary coming up on the second half shortly, but the Grand Slam dream is alive for Ireland after Ireland beat Scotland by 22 points to 7 at Murrayfield in the Six Nations earlier, and Sarah Orchard was there.
What a fixture it has been at Murrayfield. The first half was frenetic. I mean, one of the craziest games of high tempo, high standard rugby you will ever see. And the second half, the problems rained down on Ireland, but they just sucked them all up to get this win. It finished Scotland 7, Ireland 22. Alongside me, delighted to say, we've got Shane Horgan, former Ireland international, Johnny Beattie, former Scotland international. Shane, Ireland, just wow.
Yeah, it was a bit of a wow performance, and it didn't all go their way, especially in that first half. Scotland were cutting Ireland open relatively easy, and then, coupled with that, they had the massive injury crisis in the middle of a game where they're losing 3-4 frontline players, losing your 2 hookers, and Ireland just dealt with it like the sort of side that they have become, and they're calm about it, they're not overstressed. And they get back into to play the type of rugby that we've seen for the last 18 months, that has won a tour in New Zealand for the first time, that has got them to within a game of the Grand Slam last year, and has put them this year into within a game of the Grand Slam as well. Like, such admiration for these players.
Johnny, we'll talk about Scotland in a moment, but just sticking with Ireland, we talked there, just alluded to the problems that they had in this fixture. They lost 3 players in the first half, 3 forwards in fact. Then in the second half, they lost their hooker again. We had Josh van der Fleer throwing in the ball. We spoke about it in commentary. Andy Farrell said in the build-up to this Six Nations, he wanted to see this team tested. He's had injuries in the build-up to this Six Nations. They've managed quite well. But to deal with that in-game as well as they did, with Josh van der Fleer throwing in the ball, 3 props in the front of the scrum, it's impressive.
Very. Unfortunately for Scotland, very. And it just shows the resilience and the ability to problem solve that they have. Also the depth and the quality of player they can bring on. You lose a Caelan Doris, on comes Jack Conan, a British and Irish Lion, and he performs. He was absolutely excellent. But absolutely, I'm a little bit struggling with the line out and what should have been a real opportunity for Scotland, and they didn't capitalise on it. That's a big frustration personally towards the end of that game. But Ireland, as you said, problem solved, found a different way when you compare the first half and the second. Completely different games within the game of rugby. The first half, as you mentioned, frenetic, fast, changing the point of contact, impossible to follow but incredible to watch. And then the second half, the physicality, taking the game by the scruff of the neck, applying pressure at scrum, winning maul ball and line out ball when they had no right to, and taking the game to Scotland. That is the most impressive part of this Irish performance.
But what are the Scottish management thinking? And I mean that genuinely. They're up in the tempo in the first half. They're going, right, we're going to run Ireland off the ball, or we're going to try and get more ruck speed. Whatever their thinking is, and I understand the thinking, because they're going to get to the edges, and Ireland don't put numbers into the ruck, and they're trying to condense them down and move the ball wide. But if they're not sure that they're not going to gas out in the second half, and they don't have the legs to beat Ireland, and by the way, Ireland are renowned for
being a super fit team, then you're really you're dicing with death.
I think there was also strategic change tactically at halftime. When you talk about the wide ball that Scotland played with in the first period, Ireland didn't deal with it. They almost were hands off and they weren't attacking the ruck. In the second half, we saw Bundyaki, Mac Hansen time and time again targeting the ball in the wide channel and slowing it down for Scotland. That meant when they were coming back into the middle of the field, there was a big Irish blanket defence that was there, that was physical, that boss collisions that we didn't see in the first half. So little switches that we saw from coaching staff and players on the field, managing things better and getting the job done.
And just before we finish up, Shane Horgan, we've said it a few times now, but next weekend Ireland will be going for a Grand Slam. They'll be doing it for the first time ever in Dublin. They've had 3 before, but never have they been able to do it in Dublin. And just lastly, if anyone doesn't know the date, it's the St Patrick's Day weekend. How big is the party going to be knowing England are coming to town?
Well, it does feel as if it's written in the stars, doesn't it? But there was a lot of worry coming into this Six Nations. Ireland historically have been
poor in the year of a World Cup, and they've been so good for so long, and we were worried about whether they would be able to maintain that form and bring it into the World Cup. They have done more than maintain the form that they had in the autumn. They have built on it, and their performances right through the Six Nations have been exceptional. Very unlucky not to get another bonus point win today. So everything is teed up for a monster game against the old enemy in Dublin on St. Patrick's Day weekend. It's going to be massive and enjoyable.
Right, and you can hear all of it, of course, on 5 Live next week.
Lovely. Thank you to Sarah and the team after Scotland 7, Ireland 22. And our correspondent Chris Jones will have the Rugby Union Daily from 8 o'clock on 5 Live later, and also on BBC Sounds. And in the Premiership today, it finished Gloucester 5, Leicester 26, London Irish 36, Sale 18, and Bristol 51, Harlequins 26. From 7 o'clock tonight, you can listen to commentary on the final round of the Players' Championship Golf at Sawgrass on the BBC Sport website. So from 7 on the website, full coverage on Sports Extra at 8:45 on your digital radio and BBC Sounds, and correspondent Ian Carter is there in Florida for us and can bring us the update.
Well, Aaron Rye, the 28-year-old from Wolverhampton, is perhaps embarking on the biggest day of his career. He's on his way down the first at 9 under par in a share of 4th place with another Englishman, Tommy Fleetwood. He's about to hit his first tee shot, and the leaders will be underway in just 15 minutes from now. Scotty Scheffler, 14 under par. Minwoo Lee, his closest rival, at 12 under par. The odds suggest a Scheffler victory, but it's breezy, the greens are firm, and it could be a dramatic final day.
So listen to Ian and the team later. Cameron Norrie's in action at Indian Wells later. We'll have news on that as well during the course of the evening. In cricket in Mirpur, Bangladesh beat England in the second T20 by 4 wickets to clinch the series. Commentary coming up from here at St James's Park shortly, where Newcastle lead Wolves by 1-0 at half-time. But earlier in the Premier League, Arsenal restored their 5-point lead at the top of the table with a 3-0 win at Fulham. Here is Mikel Arteta, the Arsenal manager.
It feels great. Obviously, it was a really tricky game after coming back from Europe. Not much recovery, 2 o'clock against a really tough opponent in a very difficult stadium. But I think we deserve to win. I think we were dominant, we were convincing, we took our chances and scored some beautiful goals. And the clean sheet obviously closed the game.
You must have been very impressed with your side's ruthlessness in that first half.
Absolutely, and very determined with a real purpose to come here and be the team that we want to be. And I'm delighted, another win.
How gratifying was it as well that we didn't have the kind of nervousness that we had against Bournemouth? There wasn't, you know what I mean by that, there wasn't the kind of big finish.
It was a very different game, obviously, but in the Premier League you never know. Even at 3-0 at half-time, it's always question marks there, because teams can score a goal, the atmosphere can change and momentum can shift, but I think we control it really well and we deserve to win.
Leandro Trossard involved in all 3 goals. What a signing he's turning into already.
He's been great, and he's been great especially because he had an injury that could have took another week, and he pushed the medical team, he pushed the officials. The boys did a great job to get him back, and that willingness to be on the pitch even when you are not 100% is what makes differences, and I'm really happy with that.
Mikel Arteta with 5 Live's Nick Godwin. Southampton remain bottom of the Premier League after their goalless draw at Manchester United, who had Casemiro sent off late in the first half. That's his second red card of the season, so he's going to miss the next 4 matches suspended. Here are the thoughts of the Manchester United manager, Erik ten Hag.
What I think is the inconsistency. Players don't know anymore what is the policy. I think it's all across, and when you see this weekend Premier League, yesterday Leicester Chelsea, then it's VAR is not coming on the line. Today it's coming on the line, and then it's coming a penalty, 2 penalty situations, but they don't come on the line. I think especially the first one, I think for me was clear and obvious handball. So what is the policy? Refereeing is coming in the start of the season with the policy. We are Premier League, it's going strong here, we want intensity. Casemiro has across European leagues in over 500 games, he had never had a red card. And now he had twice. He plays tough, but he plays fair. He's playing fair, same as against Crystal Palace. So it's very debatable. He's disappointed.
Eric Ten Hag. You'll be able to hear Manchester United's next match, their second leg against Real Betis in the Europa League, live from Seville on Thursday night. That's a 5:45 kickoff, by the way, Betis against Manchester United. Earlier today, West Ham finished 1-1 with Aston Villa, so that's West Ham out of the bottom three on goal difference tonight. Rangers into the semi-finals of the Scottish Cup after their 3-0 win against Wraith Rovers. Goldson, an own goal, and Arfield the scorers. Sunderland won 1-0 at Norwich in the Championship, Abdullah Bar scoring his first goal for the club. Chelsea returned to the top of the WSL with a 1-0 win over Manchester United. There were also wins for Manchester City, Liverpool and Aston Villa. Leicester, Everton finished goalless, and there will be commentary on Arsenal Reading from 6:45 on Sports Extra. So that is it in terms of bringing you up to date on the action this afternoon that we've had so far. Second half here at St James's Park begins with Wolverhampton Wanderers kicking off, playing from left to right in the first half, and they've made a change. Pat Nevin, Pedro Neto coming on Wolves for Adama Traore.
Yeah, he did look quite dangerous, but half a chance for Neto already.
Yeah, Wolves coming forward. Jimenez swings it across the box to Neto, the number 7, who allows the ball to bounce twice into the full-back position, and he looks for the arriving Semedo, and then Neto plays it infield. Here is Lamina, who will roll the ball into the path of Jacob Murphy of Newcastle, and Newcastle will break forward. Murphy gives it to Isak, the goal scorer, but it bounces away as he tries to brag it back. And Neves, who we weren't sure if he was going to be able to come on at the start of the second half after receiving lengthy treatment at the end of the first period. Neves seems okay, gives the ball to Podence, and he passes it straight out of play. But even so, that's probably the second worst Wolves pass of the second half.
Yeah, fun enough at Neves, I think he possibly just winded. They look really bad, them, and they're not pleasant either. Intriguing. Having a chat downstairs with a few people at half time, and we're asking, what about Isak? How good is he? And how come he's so strong for someone who looks quite wiry though tall? And it's actually about his incredible balance and holding off players and using that balance to move taller marking players. He's very unusual at it, and he's very, very good at it. So let's see if he can keep it up for another 45.
And as for Adama Traore, this was his first start in 4, and he's played only 45 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, he got to the byline a couple of times, and I didn't think he looked less effective than maybe Podence or even Jarmatinho, to be honest. But then the manager said he's seen enough. He wants a little bit more creativity.
But he did have the accolade of appearing on Fact of the Day on 5 Live on Friday, as Semedo has the ball on the right hand side, will come in field and play it back towards the halfway line. Adama Traore, his famous routine of rubbing baby oil on himself. Tony Livesey's question surrounded the fact that it was the Welsh Rugby Union team under Warren Gatland who used to put baby oil on the balls to practice with to improve their handling. That was Friday's Fact of the Day, which sadly I didn't get right. Here's Neto for Wolves on the edge of the penalty area. Moutinho, and Neto is able to play it back towards the halfway line, and then it's forward to the edge of the box to Neves, who turns and shoots, but got underneath it, and the ball wobbled up and away and over by probably 5 yards.
Get a feeling that Lopetegui's had a wee word or two, because they started off the second half much better. Wolves, they've got into the opponent's half. There was long periods of that first half when Newcastle are in control, and will be intriguing to see when Newcastle facing an unfamiliar end in the second half, how that will affect them. At the moment they've started quite quietly, but it's very early days in this second half.
So it is Newcastle United 1, Wolverhampton Wanderers 0. 5 Live and the World Service back with us with Newcastle as they started the match. Pope in goal. Number of changes today for Newcastle, 5 changes. It is though Trippier, Schär, Botman and Byrne, the back four that's played most of the season. In midfield, Longstaff, Bruno Guimaraes and Willock. Joe Linton, first of a 2-match suspension for accumulating yellow cards, 10 of them this season. And then the front line, Murphy, Isak and St Maximin as Newcastle.
Well, John, when you were reading that there, Isak done something really special there. He's chased down a ball 40 yards to the right full back, and I'm thinking, why are you wasting the energy? Then it's passed into the centre back, and he kept on chasing him, thinking, oh come on, you're wasting all of your energy. Full back, he chased him again, He's probably done an arc about 120 yards there, and then he won the ball. Oh, the fans love him here, and rightly so. And he's trying to lift all the fans around him because his attitude right from the start has been absolutely magnificent. We just look at him sometimes and think, can you keep that going for the entirety of the match? Because they need him.
Free kick to Newcastle. Jimenez leaning into Cher, 15 yards inside their own half. Newcastle. No Anthony Gordon today. Newcastle say he's got an ankle problem, so will be out for a period of time. The recent signing, I'm sure many Newcastle fans came here today expecting to see Anthony Gordon make his first home start, but no, because of that. But in any case, Alan, St Maximin in that position has really caught the eye.
It's caught the eye, but in an unusual way. I mean, I really don't think he can be the player he was before, because he hasn't got that explosive pace anymore. But he's adapted and changed, and certainly his passing joint's been much better. Close control, throwing in the odd dummy is fine, but those charging runs from midfield, taking 4 or 5 players out, you're not seeing that anymore from him.
Sarr with a pass out across his penalty area. Dawson just got there ahead of Isak. Wolves dicing with danger. Newcastle almost ended up in Stuck in the first half when Nick Pope took a heavy touch, and Wolves still haven't got it away. I'll run you through their side in a moment, but Craig Dawson very nearly finds Amanda Staveley, if she's up there behind us. I presume she is. Trying to see where she is. Anyway, they're normally here, aren't they? But it landed close to the director's box. Lots of giggling and laughing going on in there, and it's out of play for a throw-in to Newcastle. Wolves, by the way, now with Sarr in goal, Semedo, Dawson, Kilman and Johnny, Lamina, Neves and Moutinho, the midfield three, but then Pedro Neto on the right, Pedence on the left, and Jimenez through the middle. That's the Wolves team. Julien Lopetegui. Oh, Pope, poor clearance, delayed. Jimenez very nearly charged it down, and Pope just got it away, and actually in the follow-through caught Jimenez, who's now on his knees with his head on the ground, because he was caught on the shins.
He doesn't move the ball quickly enough, nowhere near it. And in the Premier League, people spot that right away. So he gets the ball, he looks up a little bit, but he just takes too long to get himself in position. And to be honest, it's actually he's caught in the follow-through, so it's not a foul, but you've got to chase him down every time. Now, he's not confident enough to play it and pass it out to the back. He's going to have to play it long every time, but he's taking too long to control it, Pope.
It's out for a throw. Jimenez has not received treatment for that, not needed treatment for that, but it's a throw to Newcastle, 10 yards inside their own half. Newcastle 1, Wolves 0. Newcastle on their worst run of form all season, even though the 3 consecutive defeats were against Liverpool, Manchester United in the cup final, and Manchester City in Manchester last weekend. But it is 1 win in their last 8 matches, and that's why they've slipped down to where they are now in the table, 6th this morning, as Dawson plays the ball across the back line. Then it's forward from Kilman. This is a one for Botman to chase, who was ahead of Neto and was able to head it back to Pope, who just gets it into his arms and then overarms it out quickly, and Trippier bringing it forward. Low pass down the right hand side. Newcastle onto this with Murphy, but Wolves 2 men on him, and it's touched out of play for a throw in.
Great speed up the right hand side there. Trippier knows what to do, and they've got 2 passes that are right up to opposition penalty area, causing all sorts of problems. Once again, there was a moment there, header ball back to Pope. Normally you would pass the ball back there. He didn't want to. He wanted to head it back so he could pick it up.
Throw in then. That's the voice of Pat Nevin with us here on 5 Live, former Scotland winger, Chelsea player of the year twice over, and Newcastle have completely messed up that throw. And
please don't ask me what they're trying to do. I have no idea.
It ended up thrown by Trippier. Return pass was nowhere near him, just rolled through for a goal kick. So still 1-0 it is. Ball to the halfway line as Wolves with Podence, they couldn't keep it in, and it's a throw on the far side. By the way, there will be a match of the day tonight, I'm told, for the highlights in the same form as last night's programme, so that's what you will find tonight for today's highlights of the matches that I was talking about earlier. Semedo heading the ball forward, and it bounces out of play for a throw to Newcastle in their left back position. Well, we did say, was it on the World Service or was it on 5 Live earlier, Pat, that this match, there was every chance that it would end up either 1-0, 1-1, 0-0 or 0-1. So 2 of those scores are now out of the running. Throw in towards the halfway line, and Isak doesn't win the free kick that he wanted. The Newcastle fans wanted it. Wolves are the lowest scoring team in the in the Premier League this season, just the 19 goals scored, and Newcastle, as you'll probably know, have the tightest defence this season, just 17 goals conceded. That's why. Here's Isak. Semedo didn't get the pass back to Dawson. Oh, brilliant from Isak! Beats Dawson! But then an excellent recovery from Semedo. They might shout for a penalty, but that was a superb piece of defensive recovery from Semedo. And actually Wolves are off on the counter-attack, and little Podence is carrying it forward, and then Cher steps in on him. He wasn't able to do at that end what Isak did to Dawson. Excellent challenge by Cher, and now he has Saint-Maximin. Little feet working quickly, and to his left to Willock in the box, drops his shoulder, goes for the byline, drives it into the near post. Sarr pushes it away. Saint-Maximin, space on the left side of the box, one way then the other. He leaves it to Guimarães, and then Guimarães just picks it up and passes it back out of the box to the right to Trippier, who puts his foot on it. He's got Longstaff there, but Trippier goes for the long pass out into the opposite full-back position to Willock up against Semedo. Arriving is Byrne, and Byrne turns it across the face of the penalty area, cleared away by Wolves and out, and Newcastle are back in their stride as they were in that last 15 minutes of the first half.
It's just slightly too easy for Newcastle to get to the byline. 2 or 3 players, different players can get there easily, and if you're a team that's giving away that sort of possession in those sort of areas, particularly away from home, you're going to lose chances.
Well, it's lost. It is possession lost by Saint-Maximin, so Wolves are away again. Here's Neto, the half-time substitute. Podence available to his right and further ahead. Podence now with the cross, took a deflection. Jimenez was after that, but it was headed away. Good work again by Cher. Newcastle clear. It lands just in front of the penalty area, and Podence got there first. Lemina, the January arrival. Mario Lemina from Nice, but of course you'll remember him playing for Southampton and Fulham as well. Sent off against one of his former clubs, Southampton, last month. Dawson picking out a pass down the right. Semedo's going to do well to reach it. He's caught up with it. He stopped it from going out in front of the Gallagate end. And Semedo back to João Moutinho, who tried to wrap his foot around that, didn't get the contact he wanted, headed away by Willock. Podence turns on the edge of the box. Guimarães for the challenge. Podence goes down and wins the free kick for Wolves on the edge of the D to the right.
Groundhog Day. Guimarães did exactly the same in the first half to win a free kick himself, and that's happened to him now. And again, it's about 19 yards out. It's into the same goal. It's the other end of the D, but we know that Wolves, one area where they can be very, very dangerous is from free kicks just outside the box, and that's a bad mistake there for Guimarães. Got himself in the wrong position there.
Well, as I said in the first half, very often it's the player who puts the ball down that's the key, and it was Pedro Neto who placed it down, who's actually not scored this season, but Neves is standing to the left of the ball. You'd think a more likely taker, but let's see. And as I say, it's right of centre. It's on the white line of the D to the right, and Lemina's walked away, Jimenez has walked away, so it's going to be either Neto or...
Is that Moutinho beside him?
Moutinho, yes it is. Moutinho to the left. And Moutinho steps up to take this, but he taps it square, and then Neto with a shot and a good parry by Nick Pope. That was a very strong hand on that, up near the top corner. Got across very well, in position, and pushed it away. And Newcastle away on the counter-attack, and that looked like a foul on Murphy by Semedo, shoved over. He was approaching the penalty area. There were recovering defenders, and as a result, I think it is only going to be a yellow card for Semedo. But Newcastle fans baying for a red, but only a booking.
Yeah, you could see, I think the fact he was maybe slightly running away from the goal. I mean, not right towards the corner flag, but he wasn't running directly towards the goal. But they've been so quick looking on the break there. Lovely little piece of play there, and to be honest, I think he is looking for the foul, running across the defender. That's exactly what you should do. It's gone down, yellow card, maybe a wee bit lucky, but probably the right decision.
So free kick moments after Wolves had that near thing at the other end.
Great save though, brilliant save by Pope. I mean, the pace of the ball was fantastic. It was on target there, but just threw a big paw up there to the right hand side and then crashed it away. Super save.
Yeah, he's had a couple of, well, I mean, we'd have to call them dodgy moments, Nick Pope in the game, but topping the list of goalkeepers with clean sheets in the Premier League this season.
By the way, Trippier, usual position. He's had about 5 of these now.
Yep, to our left, in front of the towering Leazer's End, with the see-through panes in the roof and the side. Trippier will drive this in, and goalkeeper Sarr, leaping to his left, is able to push it away out into the full-back position. Isak has taken this up, beaten one man. There are 3 Wolves players around him. The man just to stick to his feet in between them all. Then Trippier is dispossessed. Might have been a foul there as well. Yep, the referee spotted it. It was a pullback by Trippier on Moutinho, I think. Free kick to Wolves.
Well, he's had about 4 or 5 of them, and I kept on thinking you're going to have a go at the near post in one of them. Well, he finally did, and it was superb. Down low, keeper has to scramble across to get there. At the moment, Wolves are playing it across at the back here, and they're sometimes a little bit too lazy with it. Don't do that with Isak around. He'll chase everything, and he's lightning.
Wolves on the counter though. Nice ball forward from Jimenez to Semedo down the right hand side. He's covered some ground today, and the right back for Wolves crosses it to the back post where Neves was arriving, but excellent work from Trippier. He knew Neves was there, and little Trippier was able to get his head to it and nod it behind.
He has been fantastic today, Trippier. You know, when he gets the ball into decent areas, almost always puts a good cross in. When he is a fullback, he has to do, well, I'm going to say the ugly stuff, but the sensible stuff. Covered there brilliantly. He was second favourite because of his height, but he was never going to get beat with that ball.
So a corner for Wolves, the visitors. From the left-hand side, João Moutinho, the now 36-year-old Portuguese international, just backing away, and then taps it short. And Prudence drives it into the near post. Pope, diving forward, is able to get good contact on that with both hands to clear the penalty area by a distance. Wolves come again with Neves. Neves' ball forward was blocked initially by Willock, but it came back to Neves eventually. Now Jimenez to Neves, and now Neto on his left foot crosses into the back of Byrne just a few yards in front of him, and it bounces out for a throw down the right that Neto himself will take, and then Semedo nearer the halfway line.
Just looking at Wolves just now, they look better, they look more organised than they were in the first half, but I think maybe Neto coming on, he's holding the ball better. But the one thing he's doing is when Dan Burn overlaps on the left hand side, he's chasing, he's going with him. Traore wasn't doing that in the first half, and I wonder that's why Lopetegui made the decision to take him off, because Burn now and again was getting down there and he was causing trouble with the overlap beyond Saint-Maximin, and maybe that's the reason why Traore went off in the end.
Guimarães playing the ball forward, but Isak can't get there. Semedo got there first, and Wolves turn again, still poised at 1-0 on 5 Live and the World Service from the BBC. Here's Neto back to Semedo, then back to Neto again, and Neto drags it, flicks it round Byrne. Semedo then wins the throw in near the corner flag off Willock, who's able to come across. Just under half an hour to play. Throw-in taken, back to Dawson, now Lemina, and then into the centre circle, and then Wolves actually go all the way back to goalkeeper Sarr. It's been a long discussion between Julen Lopetegui and his coaches, maybe thinking about another change. Moutinho, though, an economical pass from him to Johnny, and Johnny brings it over the halfway line. Now he's halfway inside the Newcastle half, uses Prudence on the left hand side in the full back position. Prudence is crossed to the near post, that's headed out by Botman. Neves controls and then got right underneath the volley and sent that ballooning away high and wide, and it landed in the Newcastle fans with their black and white scarves, just about closer to the corner flag than the goal.
It wasn't very good. Absolutely. To be fair, when it falls there, if you are a Wolves fan, you want it to be Neves. That's the player you would like there, who's got the technique, who can fire it from what is a difficult angle, and it is coming down from a big height, but you know he's got it in him. Sadly, in that occasion, it was absolutely dreadful. If it went well over the bar, a bit of a relief for the Newcastle players, because they haven't got quite to the pace of it in the second half. Newcastle, they've looked good in the odd bit of break, and I can see Eddie Howe having a little conflab down there with his coaches. I think they feel just now, before they lose too many chances, they might have to make a change.
Yeah, Graham Jones has just signalled. Neves taking it up. This could open up for Wolves. He gives it to the right though to Neto, and Newcastle have quickly got lots of black and white stripes in there. The cross outside of the boot, Trippier heads it away, then the shot from João Moutinho, that's blocked on the line. Was it saved on the line?
I think it was saved.
Newcastle have got it away.
I think they'll have to make that change quickly. They're not getting enough out of too many players here. We've got Almiron in front of us here, and it looks to me like a stick on. You would probably bring Saint-Maximin off and bring him on for what he can produce going forward. And Semedo's beginning to look good in the right back area going forward, and that's one area he'd love to make the change now.
As Podence overran it centre field, and he presented it to Saint-Maximin, who's off and running, but that run is cut short by the sliding tackle back of Lamina, who's then just given it away to Willock. Oh, lovely from Willock around Podence, now driving forward into the box, and Lamina went to ground, had to make that, but he did make it, put in the tackle, and it's behind, and it's a Newcastle corner, and we're just looking down, Pat. And
they should make the change now. I mean, you'd be thinking about it. But, you know, it's a corner kick. It's going to be a double change, actually. Wilson's going to come on as well.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why. But, you know, corner for yourself. The temptation is... actually, I think we're going to have to...
There's a spectator. It looks as though somebody is in trouble in the stands down to our left. Everyone on their feet, the players down there actually trying to attract the attention of the medical staff, and now those medical staff are making their way to deal with whatever the issue is. Can't actually see because lots of people are standing up to our left, but I think it is being dealt with. The medical people have been able to get to the scene, and I think play will restart. Yeah, there's applause there, so it looks as though everything's okay. Many of the substitutes are down there actually and looking up into the stands just to check and see that everything's okay, but that applause is suggesting that the issue is being dealt with. Referee Madley is just waiting here before play will resume. It will be a corner for Newcastle. I don't think they are going to make the changes just yet, Newcastle. Kieran Trippier, who will take the corner, of course, is now walking across there, and he's actually asking the substitutes, and he's looking up into the stands, just wants that reassurance that everything's okay, and that the action on the field won't affect the treatment of whatever is happening in the corner. So satisfied by that, Newcastle will restart play with this corner, which is headed wide of the near post by Cher via a deflection. Ran, sprinted to the near post, got ahead to it, tried to glance it goalwards, but there were defenders there to block it around the near post. Corner.
I think the reason why he won't make this change before a corner kick, but then if Saint-Maximin goes and scores ahead, he'll understand.
So Trippier again to the near post. This one is headed up and away by Semedo for Wolves. Newcastle though, Willock wins it back rather easily against Neto, and then curls a pass that Saint-Maximin cushions to Guimaraes, and then Saint-Maximin gets past the man, crosses to the back post, Byrne heads it across, twisting header goalwards by Botman, but really just headed it, looped the header forward, and Sarr was able to take it to his left.
Yeah, it is one of those, you know, you want to make a change. I think they will make it now. It's one of those ones, if you don't make the change and you lose. Actually, is he giving a yellow card to Isak there? Looks like it's Isak. I have no idea what for, but there was no complaint from Isak, so I think he must have blocked somebody off the ball.
Okay. Right, we're going to have a rash of substitutions now, and that's it. Isak is coming off, the man who scored the only goal. So Callum Wilson, having been left out of the starting lineup today by Eddie Howe. Callum Wilson, who has got just one goal in his last 14 appearances for Newcastle, and Almiron coming on to replace, is it
Saint-Maximin? Yes, Saint-Maximin, as I said,
yeah. So Saint-Maximin off, so Almiron has taken up his usual position on the right hand side, and Murphy's come off to the left. Wolves changes, Johnny's coming off, and Neves as well, who's taken a couple of knocks today, and also Podence, who returned to the starting lineup. So a triple change from Julian Lopetegui to try and change things here.
Yeah, I think we're slow. We're nothing in comparison to the man on the board.
The board's going up. Rayan Nouri has come on to replace Johnny, and Wolves with the ball at the back, and Here is Matheus Nunes, who has come on.
I think Hwang's come on for Potenza. I don't know if you mentioned that.
No, I didn't. Hwang making his return after 5 matches out with an injury. Wolves coming forward. Here's the cross. Ain't Nouri inside the penalty area, bounced off him out of the box, and Matheus Nunes now might have been a shove, a pull on the shirt of Hwang. It bounces. Hwang is in there, and they've scored. Wolves have equalised. Well, Newcastle have shot themselves in the foot there. Didn't clear it. Hesitation. And the substitute, seconds after coming on, Hwang Hee-chan moved onto it 6-7 yards out, and with his left foot just placed it into the back of the net. And Newcastle have been pegged back 1-1.
It was a little bit of a mess there. I mean, there was a chance to get it away there. I think Trippier goes to try and clear it with his left foot, but he slips with his right as he tries to clear it. Doesn't get enough on it, and he clears it right into the feet of Hwang. And it's the easiest tap in. I'm saying it's Trippier there because it's on that side there. I'm pretty sure it is Trippier. It's a slip. It's nothing more than that, and it's a nightmare for Newcastle. They have controlled the vast majority of this game, and they've just thrown it away. And don't Newcastle fans know how this feels?
1-1. And I suppose for Newcastle, while it was only 1-0, there was always that danger that Wolves would be able to find a goal, and that's what they did. Newcastle not secure at the back there. The slip, I suppose, was unfortunate from Kieran Trippier, but it was a sloppy goal nevertheless, and Hwang said thank you very much and scored his first Premier League goal of the season.
I suppose you have to take into account, I mean, it's Trippier's left foot. It's not his right foot he's playing with, but it doesn't matter. It's the slip. It's cost a goal.
Newcastle coming forward. The ball is played for Almiron to chase, but he won't reach that. It rolls over the dead ball line, and it is a goal kick for Wolves, whose supporters have suddenly found their voice up there high in St James's Park. So Newcastle 1, Wolverhampton Wanderers 1, with just under 15 minutes to play. Let's get an update. Let's go from rainy Tyneside to Florida and get an update from Ian Carter, who is there at Sawgrass watching the final round of the Players' Championship.
In glorious sunshine, you'll be pleased to know, John. The 2 Englishmen on the leaderboard opening up with pars. Aaron Rye on the first and the second. Tommy Fleetwood's going to have to get up and down at the second to remain at 9 under alongside Rye. That's 5 behind Scotty Scheffler, who's parred the first, but his lead is down to 1, courtesy of a birdie from Min Woo Lee.
And we will have commentary tonight from 7 o'clock on the final round with Ian in Florida and the rest of the team, who will be based in our studios in Salford. So it is a great technological challenge, but you will hear it from 7 o'clock via the website and on Sports Extra from 8:45 tonight. Free kick to Newcastle, just forward and right of the centre circle. And Newcastle on this run that they're on, 1 win in their last 8 Premier League matches. Trippier playing it into the box. Share's gone down. Was there, I wonder, a shove on him? It was Jimenez who was challenging him. The ball deflected behind and has given us a corner to Newcastle.
It's classically one of those ones. They're all going to vote the referee. That's okay, they'll have a look at it. If it was a penalty kick, they'll have a really decent look at it. He certainly had his arms all over him, and he's given him a little shove as well. It's one of those ones where, you know, last season or the season before, that would have been given as a penalty as well.
Yeah, the high bar now though, Pat, with VAR, so they say. Trippier with the corner towards the back post, headed across the edge of the box. Semedo got a head on that for Wolves, didn't clear it, but Wolves have cleared it to Almiron on the right hand side. But as he tried to play it back into the box, it was deflected for Wolves, and now here's Neto over the halfway line, but the covering challenge was there to pop it out of play for a throw into Newcastle for Botman, which Newcastle have taken. We've got just over 15 minutes to play, just over 15 minutes to go. See, Nathan Collins is being prepared here, the central defender, to come on for Wolves.
Try to see if there's an injury. I mean, is there a temptation to say, well, a point's good, so we'll go to back 3? I doubt it.
Bruno Guimaraes tries to pass the ball forward, but Dawson was in the right position. Wolves, though, could lose it, but in fact, Willock gives Mateus Nunes a shove in the back.
Well, good luck with this substitution, John. 4 for 4 he's put up.
Yeah, that's not going to happen unless he's going to come on, unless Wolves Collins is going to come on for Newcastle's Botman, which would be unusual. And it's actually João Moutinho, so midfielder off. In fact, Moutinho is saying, is it me? Well, the number was up there. Mind you, I can understand his confusion, having seen the 2 4s on the board.
And indeed, a big centre-back standing over there.
Yeah.
I mean, I questioned it. Are they going to go to a back 3 now? I mean, we know when famously Wolves did that for such a long time.
The Nuno years.
Yeah. And the thing is, that doesn't necessarily mean a negative, because if you do that, it gives you 2 sort of full-backs. They can become wing-backs, and Semedo looks very, very good when he's given the opportunity to fly forward. And I'm looking at it here, and it looks quite like it, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, he's given a captain's armband, first of all, to Max Kilman, and Collins is coming over. Yeah, he's taking up a position as the right-sided central defender.
That's quite good, that, by the way, because Semedo, I think he looks very good in the ball when he gets in attacking areas. He's not a final product yet, but he's a good player, and get him further up the field and he's a far better player still.
So 1-1 the score, 5 live in the World Service. Ball out of play for a throw-in on the left-hand side for Wolves. So we've seen that flurry of changes, and Wolves, Julen Lopetegui making a tactical switch. He does like a tactical tinker, doesn't he? The former Real Madrid manager as he was. I'll never forget being in Russia in Sochi when he was sacked on the eve of the World Cup in Russia. It was an extraordinary series of events, that, having agreed to take the Real Madrid job, which he then held for only a few months before they sacked him. And now he's in Wolverhampton. An unusual career route. Spain, Real Madrid, then Sevilla, and now Wolverhampton Wanderers. Kilman heading the ball back to his goalkeeper, Sarr. 1-1 with the match now moving into the final 15 minutes. Collins passing it forward. Lamina was under pressure, wasn't great. The pass out from Collins. Longstaff to Willock. Willock then couldn't take advantage. Longstaff finds Murphy now on the left-hand side. Right-footed cross from him towards the back post. That's headed away and then cleared further away on the edge of the box by Mateus Nunes. One of those many 5 substitutes have now been used by Julen Lopetegui. Cher, right-footed ball, finds Murphy, controls it, just got away from him on his thigh, but he's back with the ball now. Murphy into the penalty area, takes on Semedo, plays it across to the near post where it's deflected behind.
I think you've run out of play, John.
Out of play.
Yeah, run out of play. I mean, he's looked good in the ball, Murphy, when he's going forward. And that's one of the good things when you watch Newcastle play. Murphy, very decent on the ball, willing to go past players. They've got, obviously he's out with special at it. Willock's not been bad at all in this game. I think he's a very good game himself, but they do look as if they missed something when Isak isn't on the field, because they're not going to stretch the defence quite the same way, and with 3 men at the back there at the moment, you probably kind of edge slightly towards Wolves getting the more chances.
Newcastle 1, Wolves 1, entering the closing stages, or soon to enter the closing stages. Newcastle with Botman forward into the centre circle to Willock, who turns away from Jimenez and then picks out the pass. Almiron actually slipped, but quickly back up onto his feet. Trippier on the overlap. Trippier now onto this near the dead ball line. In comes the cross via a deflection, which looped it up, and Sarr was able to come forward, catch it, and then felt a slight contact and went sprawling down to win a free kick for Wolves.
Yeah, it's good to see Trippier obviously desperate to do something about giving that goal away that he did to give Wolves the equaliser, and his understanding with Almiron is very, very good. When they work together, they're very, very tough to stop, and that time, overlap, gets the ball to the byline, and you can see Trippier, he's desperate to change the narrative at the end of the game that he was the one that gave 2 points away.
Newcastle playing the ball out towards Almiron. Almiron with his heels on the white line comes infield, square from him to Willock. Willock in the D, lovely footwork, then back to Almiron. Super finish, and Newcastle are back in front. and Almiron slides away on his knees, left out of the team today, but he's back now on the field with a goal, and Newcastle have restored their lead, 2-1.
They did look very dangerous when Trippier got the ball and they went down that right hand side, and you see the understanding that he's got with Almiron in special. Almiron has had a really tough time recently. I was slightly surprised he wasn't brought on earlier, but what an impact he's just had. In fact, the substitutions have generally had an impact in this game, but that, apart from great link-up play on the right-hand side, what a finish it was from him. That was an acute angle, but it just pulled it up to the back post there, slipped past the goalkeeper. Nothing that he could do, Sarr.
It's lovely, beautifully worked really by Newcastle to play their way through Wolves. Willock's role was really important in that. Slipped the ball, and Almiron took a touch with his right, and from an angle round about the corner of the 6-yard box, Pat, left foot, just whipped it past Sarr to put Newcastle back in front.
I suspect there might have been a wee deflection as well. I just wonder, we've got another angle we're going to get coming up here, and there is a big deflection there, so maybe not as perfect a goal as it looked at first.
No,
but he doesn't care.
But it'll be his goal. I think the shot was on target, just flicked off the defender, which took it past Sarr to his. The shot was across him, but the deflection took it past him on the left-hand side, in between the near post. No, you certainly can't fault the goalkeeper for that.
No, you can't. Well, it's a back post one, and he's heading towards it. But if it goes past the defender at full speed and goes in the near post, nothing you can do about it.
So Newcastle back in front. Now the mood changes again. Good response from Newcastle. They were level for just 9 minutes, I think. And now we're in the last 10 minutes of the match, and the crowd, the Geordies, the tsunami are trying to do their bit here as that recent shower has eased, and Wolves down in front of us. Neto is challenged, and that is given us a free kick.
I suppose what Eddie Howe would argue just now is when he made the changes, he feels they've gone well, other than one freak, and it was a freakish goal, wasn't it, because of the slip from Trippier. As I was saying before, a few of the guys giving away a goal that could cost your team 2 points, you'd want to do something about it, and Trippier's reaction to it has been fantastic. He hasn't hidden, tried to get on the ball, and certainly he's making space there for Almiron in front of him.
So Newcastle back on course for what would be their first win since January, but Wolves haven't given this up. And here's Semedo, just a heavy touch, and that meant that Willock could slide in front of the ball and block it out for a throw. Raúl Jiménez. It was a year on Friday that Jiménez was the last Wolves centre forward to score a goal in the Premier League. Incredible that. They finished 10th in the league last season, and here they are. That's overhit by Hwang as he tried to give a return pass to Jimenez, and it bounces behind, and then Botman went over rather ridiculously there actually after Jimenez was challenging it, but it's a goal kick anyway. And Newcastle, I can see already the referee Andy Madley is trying to make sure that they don't delay this. 2-1 up, having just got back in front. Nick Pope's walking right across his 6-yard box, and he'll be on the clock here. Any delay here, and this could be a yellow card for Nick Pope.
Yeah, another thing, you're looking at Wolves, they have gone to that back three, and of course the fans will say, well, wait a minute, that's a back three stroke back five. Is it the right thing to do? You're now behind. Do you adapt and change it? Have you the personnel to adapt and change it from here? I'm not sure they have after all the changes now.
Play back underway. Referee satisfied that Pope didn't delay it too long before he took the goal kick. To the centre circle, Murphy gets up high, heads it through the middle. Callum Wilson was after that, and it bounces down, and now Mateus Nunes inside his own half. All right foot as he then as he passes the ball back to Collins, waves his arms around and suggests to his teammates that he didn't have options there with his black gloves on. And now Dawson all in danger of losing it on the edge of his own box. Murphy and Wilson, but Mateus Nunes was back in there actually and able to move round behind him, and Wolves have it back, but they've not got it out of their own defensive third yet. Chipping it forward to Lemina, and he's been put under pressure by Byrne, out of play. Byrne wanted to take the throw. Wolves disputed it. Semedo stepped in the way, but as the school teachers might say, Wolves are just wasting their own time there.
They absolutely are. Well, there was notable things as Newcastle are about to make another substitution. Noticeable things about Wolves. They do try to play it out from the back. They've not really been that impressive for most of the game in that sort of area. They've tried to play it out, often get caught in dangerous areas, and early on it was one man that was doing it. It was Isaac, but it keeps on happening even when they've got three centre backs. It's a real weakness at the moment in Wolves.
Matt Ritchie's coming on for Murphy, and it does make sense, this Almiron having come on the right hand side, Murphy having switched across to the left. Now the more natural Matt Ritchie in his more familiar position, Matt Ritchie on the left hand side has come on for Newcastle's latest change. Just over 5 minutes to go. Newcastle 2, Wolves 1. 5 Live from the BBC, the World Service with us as well here at St James's Park, the big stadium on the hill at Gallowgate in the city of Newcastle upon Tyne. Byrne takes the throw to Guimaraes. Guimaraes, 2 Wolves players in there as well. Collins doesn't clear it, gets a second chance, clears it to Trippier. Trippier's going to have a go for goal. Might have actually hit his own man Wilson on the back. Bounces back to Trippier, and he's been able to play the ball out over the top to the left hand side to Bruno Guimaraes with his blonde top to his hair. Bruno Guimaraes into the penalty area, played it round the defender, but Collins got it away. Mateus Nunez now passing it forward, wriggles away from 2 Newcastle men. Still Wolves in their own half. Excellent. I mean, the level of work rate from Newcastle, Wolves just cannot get out.
Yeah, it's when they play along the back, I don't know if they've got enough sophistication to do anything neat and tricky to get it out, and I think Newcastle are acutely aware of that, so when they get a chance to press, they do it, and they do it very well.
2-1 to Newcastle. Into the last 5 minutes now. Nuri out there on the left hand side. Darkness descending on Tyneside. Dawson, long right-footed pass, headed infield by Semedo, beat Byrne there, but harmlessly really. Bouncing into the penalty area, Pope was able to come and pick it up, gave it out quickly. Trippier's off and running again. Trippier crosses the halfway line. He's got the orange boots of Almiron ahead of him, gives it to Almiron. Almiron now running with the ball. Trippier continues with him on his right hand side, back to Almiron, and then infield. Longstaff is there. Trippier still out there. Guimaraes goes across as well. Bruno Guimaraes angles it back low, and Newcastle keeping possession inside the Wolves half. Trippier tried to find the pass over the top to Guimaraes, and if he had, and he wasn't far away from doing it, Guimaraes would have had a clear run into the box.
It just looks so much better with Almiron over there beside Trippier. I mean, they just understand each other. They know before they make the run where they're going to make it. As I say, I'm quite surprised it's taken so long to make the change. They made that change, and that right hand side now looks pretty smart.
And Newcastle going all the way back to Nick Pope. 2-1 Newcastle lead. Premier League on 5 Live, Champions League commentaries on Tuesday, Wednesday night. We'll be in Madrid on Wednesday, live from the Bernabeu with the second leg. Liverpool with the proverbial mountain to climb, but at the very least, a chance to get away from it all in Spain for the Liverpool supporters, and then Manchester United likewise when they go to Seville. We've got commentary 5:45 Thursday night, then Arsenal against Sporting after that. Cheltenham Festival on Sports Extra and 5 Live this week, and commentary from the Players Championship Golf tonight, and we'll get the latest from Ian Carter there in Florida.
Well, a drop shot at the second for Tommy Fleetwood, so he drops back to 8 under par. That's 6 shots off the lead, still held by Scotty Scheffler, who is on the second at 14 under par. His advantage, a single shot at the moment, because Min-Woo Lee birdied the first. Scheffler with a birdie putt to come on the second.
Free kick to Wolves just inside their own half. Thank you, Ian. From 7 o'clock on the website, and from 8:45 on Sports Extra, the golf commentary tonight on the BBC. Free kick, Wolves to take it. Mateus Nunez, high and long to the edge of the box, headed across the edge of the area by Collins, but into the path of Trippier, who's able to clear it away. A little desperately that by Newcastle, getting it away, giving it back to Wolves, who come again in the latter stages. Long pass diagonally over the top of Collins, with Byrne doing his bit, and it bounced through for a goal kick, Pat Nevin.
Yeah, it has kind of slightly petered out the last 4 or 5 minutes, not a huge amount happening. I think Newcastle would love that. They would love that to continue for these last, a minute and a half plus, whatever the referee adds on just now. But just that ball into the middle there, it seemed a bit aimless from Wolves. They didn't seem to have any huge ideas. I think that's partially what you're talking about, the centre forward. They've not got any great belief that they can play it into the striker and it's going to be held up and they can go and get on around it.
Wolves at home to Leeds next weekend. Then they're away to Nottingham Forest. It feels at the moment, with it being so close at the bottom, in the bottom half of the table, that we've got those sort of matches, at least 2 or 3 of them every weekend. And Lamina playing it forward for the run from Neto down into the Newcastle right back position. Bounces out of play. The supporters in the East Stand over there appealed for it almost more than Botman himself did, and it was given as a Newcastle throw, and it was cheered by that same section over there. Trippier to take it. We're in the 90th minute now at St James's Park. Newcastle on their worst run of form this season, just 1 win from their last 8 Premier League matches as well, but seconds away from victory. The fourth official will be coming forward to the board very shortly to show us how many minutes of added time there will be, as Guimarães is fouled, and it's a free kick. Pat Nevin.
Yeah, he's been quite quiet. Guimarães has not been one of his controlling days. Usually he can control games, he can take the eye all the way through it. Not really been one of those games for him so far. However, he's got 5 more minutes to show his quality.
Yeah, Craig Pawson on this occasion, the fourth official, had just the 1 number to deal with.
He managed it this time.
And therefore, just the single number 5 on the board. 5 minutes of added time. 2-1 Newcastle lead as Byrne plays that forward off Mateus Nunes and just felt his hamstring area, but I think he's okay. Comes across, he'll take the throw anyway. Big Dan Byrne, former season ticket holder over there on the in the stand on the opposite side of the ground from us, takes a throw down the line, but Wolves have got it back at the back and are passing it out from the back.
Doesn't look good.
No, Almiron's all over him to the extent that he's actually fouled him, and it's a free kick to Wolves.
But it doesn't look comfortable, does it? When they get out of the goalkeeper, play at the back, they seem to take it about 2 yards from the byline when the defender gets it. And that's a horrible place for anybody to get a ball. Wide, towards the 18-yard line, but on your own byline. It's really tough to play out for there if you've been squeezed.
So, free kick.
I've got Collins up front now.
So one of the central defenders has been sent forward. Wolves, knowing that every point is so important. 2-1 Newcastle lead in added time. Back it goes for Wolves to the halfway line. Dawson, slightly hunched shoulders. To his left to Kilman. Now Aït-Nouri on the left hand side running at Almiron. Aït-Nouri goes round the outside. Almiron goes with him. There's cover there as well. Guimarães comes in, puts in an excellent challenge. Went in with his hip, took the ball away from Aït-Nouri, runs it away, and then he was fouled by him as well as Aït-Nouri tried to get back. And that is an excellent piece of work by Bruno Guimarães. Might have just made the difference. And Bruno is the crowd's chant that you can hear inside St James's.
And he's lying down there, spread eagled on the ground, just lying back, exhausted. Look, he's put a bit of work in today. It's not been his best game, but he must have heard the commentary there, because that's one of his best moments of the game there. Good tackle, takes 3 players out of the end, kills about another 30-40 seconds.
Had 2 minutes of the 5 played. It's a hard fought win if it is going to be a win, after Wolves pegged Newcastle back with that goal from Hwang. But Newcastle coming forward again, and the ball has bounced behind. It took a deflection, and as
they're not going to rush, are they? They're definitely not going to rush to take that.
Mateus Nunes came back in, it bounced off him behind for a corner at Newcastle.
Yeah, and there's Collins out there giving the ball right on the spot to try and win. Don't be surprised if Newcastle take this shot and try and kill some time in the corner. They'll do anything to get these 3 points. Newcastle have left 3 players back. They're taking no chances at all.
Well, more than one manager has suggested that Newcastle are the masters of this kind of thing this season. They've taken the short corner, however Almiron's got round the back. Oh, and it's played over the top. A right-footed shot by the arriving Dan Byrne.
Yeah.
Oh no, Botman it was. Botman.
Yeah.
What was he doing there?
Exactly, because when a player turns up where he's not supposed to be, there's so many players left back. But that was a beautiful move from the the corner kick. Nice little
what a
one.
chance that was for Newcastle.
And by the way, Guimarães had his best period. His little back heel there that laid the ball in was brilliant. That would have been a superb goal. Didn't get it there. Watching Lopetegui in front of me. He's gone through hell, hasn't he? He's absolutely gutted today. He's now getting a telling off by the fourth official.
Yeah, some of the coaches as well. Jason Tyndall is not best pleased with the actions of some of Julian Lopetegui's backroom staff. I think that's Edu Rubio. Wolves coming forward, cross from Semedo, Burn slides in, block that. That was important for Newcastle because there were players, 3 gold shirts in the middle, but it was blocked behind by Burn for Wolves corner.
You just wonder, should the keeper be coming up for this one? You're a goal down, there's not long to go now.
We're in the 5th minute, the final minute of added time, in front of 52,240 people here. Corner for Wolves from the right. Left-footed delivery, whipped to the near post, cleared away. Newcastle cheers because Willock was behind it. Half volleyed it away, sent back in. Oh, that's bouncing dangerously on the edge of the Newcastle penalty area. Hwang got his head to it, but then it's cleared away by Cher. Headed forward from near the halfway line by Lamina. Only seconds to play. I reckon 20 seconds of the 5 minutes left. But Wolves, perhaps one final attack for them to try and eke something out of this game. Ait Nouri, left-footed from him, goes long. Nick Pope comes and makes the catch and drops down onto his front. Jimenez was in between a couple of defenders, went to ground, knew he wasn't going to get there, and Newcastle now, I think that's it. It is. Newcastle emerge as winners, and their worst run of form of the season has come to an end. Their first win since January for Eddie Howe's side. And Julian Lopetegui turns away in frustration. He's in discussions with Craig Pawson, the 4th official. They got back into it, Wolves, in the second half, levelling it up with that goal from the substitute Hwang after Isak headed Newcastle in front in the first half. But the goal, with just over 10 minutes to go, has won it for Newcastle from Miguel Almiron's deflected shot. Pat Nevin.
Yeah, I mean, there was as much relief as celebration at the end for these Newcastle fans. I know the difficulties they've had, so they deserved it over the piece. I think you've got to say that. The chances they had, there was a big period in the first half. I think Newcastle, they were splendid. They were back to their very best, and you said they looked like a Champions League chasing side, and I agreed with you, but it didn't last for the entirety of the game. Moments where Isak were special, very, very special, and he deserved his goal. But you look at the players that have scored the goal for Newcastle today. It's Almiron, it's Isak, it's the players that have got that extra special, extra something that have given them the edge. That's what's not there for Wolves at the moment. There isn't anyone who's got that edge going forward. That's why they've lost the game, and that's why they're not scoring any goals, and that's why the spectre of relegation is still there.
Yep, for Wolves, that is now 3 defeats in their last 5. For Newcastle, they are now 4 points behind Tottenham in 4th with 2 matches in hand. So that's it. Newcastle beating Wolverhampton Wanderers by 2-1 earlier. Fulham 0, Arsenal 3, Manchester United 0, Southampton 0, West Ham 1, Aston Villa 1, Rangers through.